The Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, or IPC, has declared a famine in Gaza, stating that more than 500,000 Palestinians in Gaza City and the surrounding area are facing catastrophic conditions, giving the area a Phase 5 classification, the highest possible. It is the first time the IPC has recorded famine outside of Africa, and the global group predicted that famine conditions would spread to the central and southern areas of Gaza by the end of next September.
Be in no doubt that this is irrefutable testimony. It is a famine. The Gaza famine. It is a famine that we could have prevented if we had been allowed. Yet food stacks up at borders because of systematic obstruction by Israel.
For a region to be classified as in famine, at least 20% of people must be suffering extreme food shortages, with 1 in 3 children acutely malnourished, and 2 people out of every 10,000 dying daily from starvation or malnutrition and disease. Previously, the IPC has only registered famines in Somalia, South Sudan, and Sudan. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the Gaza famine was a man-made disaster, a moral indictment, and a failure of humanity itself. The IPC now join a growing list of bodies that recognize a famine is underway in Gaza. The IPC, supported by a coalition of UN agencies, the Famine Review Committee, as well as leading humanitarian organizations such as Oxfam and Amnesty. U.S. President Donald Trump has enacted a sweeping federal intervention in Washington, D.C., citing a surge in violent crime as justification. He invoked the District of Columbia Home Rule Act that places control of the city's Metropolitan Police Department under federal authority. The administration argues that D.C. police and city officials have lost control and that extraordinary federal measures are required to restore order. Alongside guard units, the operation includes federal agents from the FBI, DEA, ICE, and Park Police. The U.S. is not one single centralized country. It's a union of 50 semi-independent states, each who joined the union at different times and have their own constitution, governor, legislature, and courts, representation in Congress, and authority over local matters. This is why the deployment has been met with strong criticism, because crime is not surging in Washington. Data shows that violent crime in Washington had already been falling sharply, reaching its lowest levels in 3 decades. Murders, robberies, and carjackings all dropped significantly before the guard was sent in. Under the D.C. Home Rule Act, the president can assume temporary control of the D.C. police, since Washington is not a state. Critics, including the mayor and city officials, say this bypasses local democracy and is politically motivated. Analysts suggest the move is less about crime and more about projecting a law and order image in the run-up to the 2026 midterms. Trump has hinted at expanding similar operations to Chicago and New York, 2 Democratic-led cities he has repeatedly targeted. Many see this move by Trump as politically motivated and authoritarian in nature, with emergency powers being exploited. With U.S. power around the world in decline, this move domestically is an ominous sign, as many empires throughout history collapsed when domestic issues began to create cracks in national unity. Data from an internal Israeli intelligence database indicates that at least 83% of Palestinians killed in Israel's onslaught on Gaza were civilians. An investigation by Plus 972 magazine has revealed. Figures obtained from the classified database, which records the deaths of members from Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad, contradict by a huge margin the public statements of Israeli army and government officials throughout the war. Instead, the classified data backs up the findings of several studies suggesting Israel's bombardment of Gaza has killed civilians at a rate with few parallels in modern warfare. The Israeli army confirmed the existence of the database, which is managed by the Military Intelligence Directorate. Multiple intelligence sources familiar with the database said the army views it as the only authoritative tally of militant casualty figures. In the words of one of them, "There's no other place to check." According to the data, the Israeli army believed it had killed around 8,900 operatives since October 7th. The deaths of 7,330 of whom were considered certain and 1,570 recorded as probably dead. Since early on in the war, Israeli officials have sought to dismiss accusations of wanton killing in Gaza as the Palestinian death toll rapidly stacked up. Major General retired Itzhak Brick, who served for many years as a commander in the Israeli army and later as ombudsman for soldiers' complaints, explained there is a culture of lying. While speaking to soldiers whose job was to examine and identify the bodies of people the army kills in Gaza, he said they told him, "Everyone the army says it killed, most of them are civilians, period."